Suzanne Leal is an established author with books written for adults and children. In her last book, The Watchful Wife, we entered the world of an authoritarian church. In The Year We Escaped, the reader is plunged into 1940 France and the lives of 4 children forced to leave their homes. Suzanne Leal.
I'm not used to being up here. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's such a delight to see you. I sort of wish I could have you all one at a time, like a sort of a speed dating thing, so I could just talk to you for 10 minutes each, because there's so many people I don't see and then suddenly see together. So thank you. I know a lot of you have made a big effort to be here, and I really appreciate that. Many of you will know David Dyer's writing. His internationally acclaimed novel, The Midnight Watch, about the sinking of the Titanic, and his new novel, This Kingdom of Dust, which conjures up a very different moon landing in 1969, of course. I didn't think I was interested in the moon landing, but thanks to David, I now am. David Dyer has been many things: a medical student, a ship's deck officer, a lawyer, a writer, a doctor of letters, and a secondary school teacher. What lucky students to score Dr. David Dyer as their teacher. And how lucky am I to have David here to launch my new book, The Year We Escaped. Please give David a big welcome.
Thank you, Suzanne. Good evening, everybody. How lovely to see you all out on this chilly winter's night. It's good to see you all here, and it's great to be here to help celebrate Suzanne Leal's latest novel, The Year We Escaped. Suzanne, thanks so much for inviting me to help launch your new book. Those who have read it will know that it's a wonderful piece of work, and so it's my very special honour indeed to be a part of its launch and to help send it out into the world. It deserves many readers. I first met Suzanne a few years ago when we both had a book out. It was my first book. It was about the Titanic. Susan's book was about a teacher who had his own problems, a secret, which turned out to be something of an iceberg for him. But we were doing the rounds of the writers' festivals and so on, and it was my first novel, and Suzanne gave me great friendship and support and advice, and for that I'm very grateful. Of course, since then Suzanne has written 4 more books. I don't quite know how she does it. The Deceptions, The Watchful Wife, Running with Ivan, and now The Year We Escaped. And these books have been nominated for, shortlisted for, and won various awards and prizes. And somehow she's been able to write these books while also convening a weekly book club, appearing regularly at various literary festivals and other events, running a family. I don't know how hard that is, but some people say it's hard, some say it's easy. But anyway, she does it. And working as a lawyer, which I know from my own experience is not easy. That is not an easy thing to do, but she does it. I don't quite know how she does it, but she does, much to the relief of her very many readers. Now, when Suzanne first invited me to give a little speech, a short speech, she said, to help launch her book, she told me that it was a book for young readers. Now, I'm not much of a, well, I'm a reader, but I'm not a young one. But I do have some exposure to young readers because I'm a high school teacher. So when she asked me to prepare a speech, I did what any good young person would do, and I went straight to ChatGPT. And luckily, I asked it very nicely. I'm always very polite to our technological overlords, and I said, "Dear ChatGPT, would you please write me a speech?" And it said, of course, certainly, David, in a few seconds, it produced a speech, and I really love it. So I'm going to read it. So this is artificial intelligence talking. Let's see how it goes. Good evening, everyone. I can't help noticing that's the same opening I used. But anyway, there we go. It's a genuine pleasure to be here with you tonight, and so on. I'm going to skip a paragraph. Suzanne Leal is one of those rare novelists whose work consistently explores the entanglement of past and present with empathy, intelligence, and moral clarity. Whether in The Teacher's Secret, The Deceptions, or now, The Year We Escaped, Suzanne has shown herself to be deeply interested in how ordinary people respond to extraordinary circumstances, especially when history or power or shame pushes them to the edge. Not bad. I think it's quite amazing, really, that a machine can produce... It is a machine, isn't it, that can produce such stuff. I'll just indulge me a little bit more. Her legal background, especially her work in child protection and refugee law, has not just informed her fiction, it has enriched it. Her characters ring true. Note that. Her characters ring true because they are drawn from real emotional terrain. What a great phrase, real emotional terrain. And so now the computer says to the year we escaped. It's a story about friendship and truth. It's about two teenagers, Hannah and Noah, who form a deep bond in a time of crisis. Well, now Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem. Those who have read it, as interesting as Hannah and Noah may be, there are no such characters in the year we escaped. So I'm going to abandon the artificial and go to the real. Forgive if you think I'm flattering myself by saying my intelligence is real intelligence. You know, computer people call brain intelligence wetware. Wetware. You're using your wetware if you're thinking and writing with your wetware. So I used my wetware, imperfect as it is, to read Suzanne's book, and I loved it. I really did love it. A few days ago, I listened to James O'Loughlin talking to Suzanne on ABC Radio, and he said that it might well be a book for children, but that he, as an adult, absolutely loved it, and he couldn't put it down, and that he read it in one day. So let me echo James O'Loughlin's... I've echoed a computer. Now let me echo James O'Loughlin's thoughts. If you read it, you will know that it is a real page-turner. I won't give too much away, but the story is set in World War II, when two Jewish schoolgirls, Clara and Rachel, not Hannah and Noah, Clara and Rachel, are sent from their comfortable homes in Germany to an internment camp in France, where they meet two Jewish French brothers, Lucien and Paul. The novel tells the story of these four children and their adventures, with the horrors of war as an ever-present backdrop. Now, a few days ago, I mentioned this book to my friend who's also a children's book writer, and she said she hadn't got around to reading it yet, but that she absolutely loved the cover. The cover is here. I also have my own, just in case there wasn't that, I have my own photocopy of the cover. Here it is. It's a work of art in itself, and I really do love it. And perhaps this is one of those books which you can judge by its cover, because the cover in this case is dynamic, it's richly symbolic and really rather beautiful, much like the text that is inside. And if you look carefully at the cover, I don't know if you can see it there, but in the foreground there is barbed wire. And the barbed wire is quite shocking, and it's used as a symbol throughout the book, and it is a very potent symbol of the Nazi atrocities during the Second World War, representing not only the physical confinement of millions of people in death camps, but also how the human mind itself can become ensnared by the charismatic, pernicious ravings of a dictatorial lunatic. this dynamic is not over in our world. I mean, it exists in today's world. And just forgive me for getting serious for a moment, but I'm reminded by that barbed wire of a poem which I've been teaching recently, Sylvia Plath's Daddy, in which she conceives of the very language of the Nazis as barbed wire. In the poem Daddy, she says, "I never could talk to you. The tongue stuck in my jaw. It's stuck in a barbed wire snare. Ich. The language obscene, chuffing me off like a Jew to Dachau, Auschwitz, Belsen." And then in her novel, The Bell Jar, she writes, "Each time I picked up a German dictionary or book, the very sight of those dense, black, barbed wire letters made my mind shut like a clam." So it's a very evocative symbol, and there it is in the foreground of the cover. And it's interesting because it contrasts with what is just in the midground, which is sort of the black barbed wire of confinement, contrasting with these lovely young, free children. And if you look at them, you see that their backs are to the wire. They have escaped, and their faces are towards mountains, a sunrise and stars, very, very clear symbols of hope. And that's what I see in this book. When I was teaching at Kambala, a girls' school, and now at Sydney Grammar, boys' school, we did a very similar unit. At Kambala, it was called Innocence Confronting the Adult World. At Sydney Grammar, it's called The Bildungsroman, which is a German word for a novel of transition or education. And they always involve young people growing and becoming exposed, learning how to inhabit the adult world. And in these texts, they are often exposed to the horrors of the adult world, which is, sex, violence, abuse, betrayal, cruelty, even war. But these books always show that transition is at its most healthy when it's gradual, when the child gradually moves and is able to cope with these concepts, usually with the help of a mentor, a teacher, or a parent, somebody who can guide and protect them. But sometimes they show that there are sometimes forces in the world for which there is no protection, and children are exposed to horrors which they should never be exposed to. And whether we're thinking of bullying in the playground or the treacheries of the internet, or those poor children who actually do suffer war or starvation. And we should think today of those children in Ukraine and in the Middle East who are suffering enormously because of these things. But the main thing I see in this cover and in Suzanne's book is that even when there is such horror, there is always hope. There is always hope. I'm running out of time. I just need to end, but I do want to read one little tiny bit from your book. There are many lovely scenes in this book, but there's one that I just want to share with you. The two young friends, Clara and Rachel, as I said, they've been removed from their homes and they find themselves in a harsh prison camp in France where they're surrounded by hardship, suffering, and a lot of mud. And here is, I'll read from the novel. "That evening," says Clara, "I went walking with Rachel. The sky was lit up with stars and the moon was almost round. Craning my head upwards, I tried to take it all in. Rachel grabbed my hand and gave it a squeeze. 'You know what we need to do? We need to lie down.' I laughed. 'What? Right here in the mud? Why not?' I thought about it. At least the mud was dry now, so dry the ground had started to crack. We found ourselves a strip of dirt to the side of our barracks, and Rachel lay down, moving her arms up and down. 'Look at me,' she said. 'I'm a snow angel.' "A mud angel," I corrected her. "Mud angel," she laughed. "I like that." "Lie down," she said, giving my skirt a tug, "just for a minute." So I did. I lay down beside her, and together we watched the moon and the stars shining above us. They were magical moments. For that brief time, I truly believed I might float to the sky, taking Rachel with me and whisk us both away. So even when we are lying in the cold mud, with devastation and violence all around, we can still see the stars and perhaps even transform ourselves into angels. This really is a lovely book. It has as its backdrop the cataclysm of war, but it's a story that's told with a deft lightness of touch and with lots and lots of heart. Amid great suffering, its young heroes discover resilience, friendship, community, and I think particularly relevant in today's world, the power of kindness. All right, I've gone on long enough. I think all that remains for me to do is to ask that we raise our glasses, those who have them. Maybe we don't have them. We can pretend we do. But I do want to launch the book, so it's not a bottle of champagne, but it is a glass, and it's not quite empty, but I'll hold it up. In a toast to Suzanne's latest book, I officially launch The Year We Escaped. May this wonderful novel be blessed with fair winds and following seas. The Year We Escaped. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's funny, after I finish a book, I really hate reading it again because I keep looking for the mistakes and think of what I could have done better. But there are 2 times where I actually like the writing that I've done or revisiting it. And one is when someone like David Dyer says all those things and you find yourself nodding because you didn't say them. And the second thing is there's an audio book made of a few of my books and a beautiful one made of The Year We Escaped. And when I listen to an audio book, suddenly the words are no longer mine, but they're a story being told to me. And it gives back some of the magic of the writing, which, as the many nodding writers in the audience would know, can take part of your soul with it, and sometimes you don't really want to revisit. So it's the strangest thing, listening here to David Dyer, so eminent, talking about an imagined world and what it means. I think it's probably the greatest pleasure when something that is so solitary becomes public. It's also the greatest fear because when it's not there, when it's in your head, it could be anything at all. And then when it comes out, it could be everything and nothing, and you're a little bit naked. I mean, even if you haven't written about yourself, because it's your words, and it doesn't matter how many books come out. I think that that sense of confidence or lack of confidence keeps going. As my eminent agent, Margaret Connolly, would say, that writing is a disease and it's her job to shepherd the diseased as kindly and as efficiently as she can. And I can say, Margaret Connolly, you have been the most wonderful of shepherds. Margaret's not only an agent that brings my books to publishers, she's a friend and a sage, really, who listens, who laughs, who celebrates with me. She gives me her friendship and often an injection of confidence when I most need it. I shudder to think how many nervy writers that Margaret has to try and call down from the wall or from giving up. It's a valuable job, and I really appreciate it. To my publisher, Lisa Berryman, who trusted this story enough to sign it up when it was just an outline and a few chapters, which is the first time I've had that. So again, for the writers and the readers here, it's a weird thing when you're just writing into nothing. Like, it might be, you've got to think it's for you, because otherwise you're mad, because it might go nowhere further. And to have this book signed up in a matter of chapters sort of gives you the job, and it gives you the deadline. And it was a book I wasn't sure I could write, but the deadline pushed that, and that was thanks to Lisa Berryman, because it's a hard time for publishing, and to have a champion, even when they haven't seen how this happens, because it could have been a mess, obviously. It's great to have her trust. Lisa sends her good wishes from the United Kingdom, where she's having a very well-deserved break. I feel very lucky to be one of Lisa's writers, and would like to give a shout out to another of Lisa's writers. You know who you are, Lucy Stevens, who is here today. There she is with a wave. She's on the publicity tour. So Lucy has her debut book, Rest in Peace, Nanny Tobbins, about a nanny who has been a beautiful friend for her charge until the nanny falls off a horse and breaks her neck. Fortunately, she comes back from the dead. Anyway, I'll leave it to you. Nanny Tobbins is terrific. And it's been wonderful to share the release of The Year We Escaped with Lucy. My thanks, if you'll indulge me, to Kate O'Donnell, Alex Nalis, Siobhan Cantrell and Pam Dunn for careful editing. It's the weirdest thing when you've made this imaginary world and someone is paid to check that you didn't make mistakes, or it makes sense, or the chronology works, or it's possible. It still blows my mind that that's a job, and that we can have conversations seriously about these people who, as far as I'm aware, have never really existed. So it's an important and such a expert job for editing. For the design, the publicity and the marketing teams at HarperCollins Children's Books, they worked enormously hard. It's a tough job, publishing world, and it's filled with goodwill and clever people. And in my case, especially this time, Mariah Bell, Katie Gray and Emma Holyfield. And enormous thanks again for the cover. So the cover, it's an interesting thing for those of you who are in the industry. You know that you might not have a lot of say with the cover. One of my books, The Teacher's Secret, it was not my title or my cover. And the email I got from the publisher was, sales and marketing really, really, really love this title and this cover. What do you think? So, of course, I rang Margaret Connolly and I said, Margaret, what do I think? And she said, you love it. And it proved to be a popular choice, and the expert advice of the publisher and agent was right. For this one, there has been so much work going into it. So Ross Murray is the artist, and he does those retro covers for The Lonely Planet. So you can see, if you've seen, there's one with a bike, you can see his style in it. And the only thing that I think I had two inputs, which was, I think Margaret and I wanted the kids to be a little bit grubbier than they were, and they're a bit grubbier now. And there was also another barbed wire, like right at the top, and I thought barbed wire is a really frightening symbol, and I thought I didn't want the sky covered over. I thought, because the kids are running towards the mountains, and as David said, the sky, wherever you are, is always the sky. So I think he's done a beautiful job, and I think you don't really even need to read the book. You could just buy it for the cover. There are a few people I wanted to thank who made this book so much better. My gorgeous friend Joanne Fedler was an early reader of the book, and her advice, as usual, was fantastic. Also Christina Hoosh and Thomas Salter. Karine Bastard and Patrick Bowe, all early readers, and I thank them so much for their time and their helpful feedback, along with my friend, my late father's best friend, Jean-Pierre Claire. I'm grateful to the Randwick City Library for giving me a place to write the year we escaped as part of the Space to Create residency program, which is a terrific program. There's a lot of these programs that are springing up, so any writers here or artists, it's worth popping an application in. Thanks to Pitt Street Uniting Church again, with a special shout out to Cynthia Coghill, who has pulled the night together so beautifully as usual. Orange Cow, who's videoing and photographing. He's a mastermind, as is Hazel Hogarth, who is our photographer extraordinaire. Many thanks to Jane Turner and Paula Markin from Gertrude and Alice Bookstore, who are such champions of writers and who are here as our booksellers tonight. It's without our booksellers, there would be no books changing places, and it's more than a job. It seems to me that to be a bookseller is a real vocation and not always an easy one. So it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you to my brother David, my niece Addison, and my sister-in-law Carol, and to my son Xavier. If some of you haven't seen me for a while, that's Xavier. And he's in charge of drinks tonight because one of Xavier's jobs is to be a waiter at Mimi's in Coogee Pavilion, which is a very, very expensive restaurant to go to, but there's one across the road that you can have a drink at, like David and I did. And Xavier is an excellent waiter and good with drinks. Miranda, as usual, has been very helpful, and she's also here sitting on the floor. To my son Alex for his advice and support and creative ideas. He's now in Walgett. So Alex is a solicitor at the Aboriginal Legal Service and has been sort of pivoting between Dubbo and Walgett. And then, I'm almost done. And then Dominic and his partner Georgia, who are in Canberra, for their kindness and their continual support. This year, my husband, David Barrow, in the front row, has juggled working, travelling, cycling, parenting, pet care, and picking up the pieces when life has overwhelmed me and the world is suddenly too much. David makes me happy, keeps me laughing, and holds me close. Thank you for all of this. Denise Chapman and I have been friends since we were 7, when we lived in the same street. She's more than my best friend, she's my sister, and we've grown up together, become mothers together, navigated life and relationships together, and The Year We Escaped is dedicated to you, Denise, wherever you are. There she is. And to everybody who's come tonight, thank you for being my friends, for celebrating with me when things are going well, and for hanging on to me when my confidence falters and I need to reboot. Thank you so much. It's really, really special to be surrounded by you all. I'm going to let you eat and drink, but I forgot one important paragraph. It reminds me of my first wedding, some of you who were there, when I was giving my speech, had it all sorted, and then Mum called out, "And Auntie Marie," because I'd forgotten Auntie Marie. So this is what I've forgotten. I'd like to mention my mother, Rosalind, who is here tonight and who has managed the past years with a resilience and a stoicism that both astonishes me and fills me with admiration. Unfortunate paragraph to have forgotten. Over to you. Please drink, eat, and enjoy each other's company.